Hi there folks, welcome back to the IB and Andy Fishing channel. I hope you're doing really well. It's been a wee while since we posted a video. We've got to that time of year again. I am absolutely flat out with work, guiding on the rivers pretty much every day. IB's flat out with her work, and we've found time a little bit sparse at the moment. But the good news is that in between all the work, we have found a little bit of time to review some of the kit that we've had for the last few months. We've got some really exciting reviews coming up. So if you're into that kind of stuff, do stick with the channel, because in the next few weeks, we've got a few reviews coming up of bits of kit that you're going to really enjoy, and today is absolutely one of those, an absolute banger. A piece of kit that has totally shocked me in the time that I've had it. I think I might have found the UK's best value river dry fly rod. I'm going to throw it out there now. Big statement. I can't believe how good this rod is. Before I get into it, I'm going to talk about the rod first, and then I'm going to mention the price, because you honestly won't believe how cheap this rod is. What we've got here is the Wychwood Flow 10-foot 4-weight. Now you guys have heard us talk about the longer rods in the past. It always sounds a bit longer 10-footer as a dry fly rod on the rivers, but there are huge advantages in terms of reach, in terms of quality of the mending, picking up the line to recast, picking up the line to strike. Loads of different advantages to the 10-footer, and in truth it's the rod that I use for most of my river dry fly fishing these days, particularly if I'm fishing places where I can't wade, like up here it might be the Derbyshire Wye. You go down to the chalk streams, there's lots of places there you can't wade. Lots of advantages to a 10-foot 4-weight. Not necessarily a rod though that you often find in budget rod ranges. So when I noticed that Wychwood have done a Flow 10-foot 4-weight, I thought, yeah, I'd quite like to have a look at one of those. Let's see what that's got. Flow is a range of river rods from around about 7 foot up to a bit of a weird one, an 11-foot 4-weight, but it's the 10-foot 4-weight that I've been using since probably just before Christmas. So I've done a mixture of Grayling fishing and dry fly fishing for trout on this. I've had it for a little while, given it a good test. I know everything about this rod that you guys are going to need to know to find out if it's something that you're going to want to go out and buy. So we get straight into it. As you see, it comes in its own tube. You'd expect that these days. It's a partition rod tube, so you open that up, and inside there, the tube is divided up into 4 parts for the 4 pieces of the rod. I'll take the butt section out first, because that's where most of the cool stuff is going on. So down here, it's a relatively simple looking rod. As I say, I'm not going to mention the price just yet, but it'll make sense when I get there. But you've got stuff here that you'd want from a rod that you might not necessarily expect from a rod at this price. So start right down here. A couple of really nice features. First off, it's a machined aluminium reel seat. So corrosion resistant, impact resistant, a nice solid simple design that I think is going to stand the test of time. You can see there's some really nice branding down there. A good simple solid reel seat. Nothing flashy, exactly what you'd want. Coming up to the handle again, a little bit of branding on there. It is a half wells handle. It's relatively slim actually. I was surprised with it being a 10-foot rod. I thought this might be a bit thicker, but it's not. It is a nice slim handle. I'll get onto the quality of the cork and stuff like that in a minute, but I want to take you guys through the rod first. Above that we've got a little keeper ring. Like to have that there. Amazing how many rods don't have one these days, but this one does. And above that, just some very simple branding. The Flow logo, that it's a 10-foot 4-weight. That's all that's on there. Really, it's all you need. The blank is this kind of grey colour. It's not mega flashy. It's also not a matte finish, but I think it's quite sensible. Nothing mega remarkable, Wychwood haven't tried to do too much with this. Right, next section up. Pop that out of the tube. And we've got one stripper guide here just above the join of the first section. Again, no crazy shakes here. You can see the whippings here are a nice simple black colour, slightly charcoal colour maybe. Blank colour is the same the whole way through, and above that, going up towards the tip, we've got these kind of intermediate snakes. Again, nice and sensible, nothing too flashy, no tippings on the whippings or anything like that. It's a really kind of utilitarian rod in terms of the way it's been designed, and I don't mind that at all. You'll see there are some section aligners to make sure you've got your joints lined up properly. You'd expect that on most rods these days, but it is a nice touch to have given the price of the rod. So again, right the way up, we've got those snakes right the way up to the tip ring up there. Again, no change in the whippings, very simple. So that's what we've got in terms of the rod. I'm just going to go through it very quickly again and tell you what I think about the specific features on the rod. So back here, down on the reel seat, as I say, really simple design, no frills. I like the fact that it's a double locket. It's really secure. In all the time that I've been using the rod, and I've used it an awful lot in the last couple of months, the reel's never come loose, nothing's ever wobbled, everything has been absolutely fine there. So big tick straight away in terms of my user experience, the reel seat works perfectly. Coming up a little bit and we get to the cork handle. As I say, it's a half wells handle. You can tell from the colour of it, I've given this rod a fair bashing over the last few months. It has been absolutely fine For the price of the rod, it is the kind of handle you would expect. It doesn't have that same premium quality as some of the higher end Wychwood rods or a Hardy or a Sage or something like that, but it also doesn't have that price tag. If you're expecting top grade cork from a fly rod at this price, you are being totally unrealistic. As it is, it's absolutely fine, nothing has gone wrong, nothing's fallen out. It's doing okay, it's doing exactly what I want from it. It just doesn't quite have that same nice feel as a good quality handle, but it also doesn't have the same price tag as a rod that's got that handle, so that's absolutely fine. I kind of like all the branding down there. It's a little bit heavy on it, but it just gives you a slight more of a premium quality feel. I think kind of burning that or laser engraving that onto the cork is a really nice touch, and maybe something that other manufacturers might look at doing. It just gives you something there that you perhaps might not have otherwise. In terms of the important bit, the blank of the rod is really interesting. Now, Wychwood describe it as multi-modulus. And I'll be honest, when I got hold of the rod, my biggest concern was going to be, what is this blank going to be like? Because for the price of the rod, I really didn't have particularly high expectations. And this is where the flow has totally blown me apart. And I mean this, it is a really, really good blank. Don't get me wrong, it's not super cultured again like a top-end Hardy or a top-end Sage, but this is no dead stick by any means. It's got a really progressive curve, it casts beautifully, it doesn't counterflex or wobble around unnecessarily. And in the big mix of fishing I've done with this, between indicator fishing for Grayling, throwing longer and shorter casts with the dry fly for trout, it's always been accurate, it's always tracked through pretty true. I can't remember many instances where I've bumped fish off because the rod action's been too heavy or anything like that. This is a really, really nice blank. It's one of those instances where it just makes me wonder, because of the price of the rod, whether this has happened by accident or on purpose, because it is a much better rod than you would expect for the price. I've thrown a big mixture of casts. I've been doing a lot of roll casting recently, fishing at quite short range. It roll casts beautifully, and when I've needed to stretch the line out a little bit more, cover a little bit more water, hit the far bank with a couple of casts, it's done that really nicely too. In terms of the quality of the fixtures and fittings on the blank, again, absolutely nothing to fault the rod with. I think the guides are a sensible size, they're whipped on solidly, nothing has come loose, nothing's wobbling around, all the joints have stayed nice and secure. I think the snakes are a good call. That one stripper guide is about right, even though there might be a temptation to put two of those on a 10-footer. The quality of the whippings is really good, there's no varnish blobs, there's nothing obvious about this rod that you would look at and say, that is really cheap, that is wrong. Everything about this rod has a much, much higher quality feel than the price tag suggests. I guess if you're going to be hypercritical, the kind of graphic-y area down at the butt section looks a little bit simple, but I mean, come on, that is being really, really picky. How much of a difference would that actually make? It's interesting actually, on the graphics, the kind of tagline for the flow range is beyond expectations. And I think in this instance, that absolutely sums it up. This rod is way beyond what I expect to get from a rod at this price. And I guess that's the next bit we need to talk about here, because as you've probably found out, I am pretty keen on this rod. I think this is a really, really good piece of kit. I'm absolutely staggered by the price of this rod. So as we've talked about, great reel seat, perfectly serviceable handle, good quality finish. The blank is really good, genuinely really, really nice rod to cast. This rod currently retails in the UK at £64.99. Now I'm going to say that again for the people at the back who didn't hear that properly. £64.99. 65 quid. It is unbelievable value for a 10-foot 4-weight. I had a quick look before I started filming this video just to find out what other 10-foot 4-weights there are available at that price point. I couldn't find any. So I haven't really got anything to compare it to in terms of price range, because as far as I'm aware, in terms of branded products, there might be some off-the-shelf China stuff, but in terms of branded products, I think this might be the cheapest 10-foot 4-weight available on the market in the UK. In truth, had I paid twice that amount for this rod, I would have still given this exactly the same feedback from the review. It is excellent value for money. I've actually used this quite a lot for guiding in the last couple of months, particularly during the start of the trout season, and I've had quite a lot of fun having people use this for a few hours without really talking about the rod too much, and then asking a few questions about it. Basically get the same feedback every time. People say, yeah, it feels alright, it feels like a nice rod, like it's doing what I want from it, points in the right direction, it's accurate, it doesn't wobble. People are so shocked when they find out the price of this rod. It's pretty hard to get a decent fly line these days for 65 quid, let alone an entire rod and a tube. It's ridiculous value for money. And it just, for me, straight away, it looks like the kind of rod where, you know, if you've heard IB and I talk about the longer rods for river fishing and been a bit curious and thought, well, I like the idea of it, but I don't want to overcommit. For 65 quid, if you want to try a slightly longer rod for your dry fly fishing, here it is. go and buy one of these because it is absolutely perfect if you're looking for a spare rod or a rod for a friend or just something to keep kicking about as something that you might use every now and again. For 65 quid, what a bargain this thing is. I know one of the questions I'm going to get asked here is that could you use it as a nymphing rod? And the answer is yes, but it's not designed for it at all. There is nothing about this rod that is specifically designed for tight line nymphing, European style nymphing. You know, the first guide is on the second section rather than the butt section. The reel seat is a up locker rather than a down locker, so that's not the direction you want that to go in. And all around the blank feels like it's been designed to fish with fly line, and it does that absolutely excellently. It's a really, really nice rod to cast with. I haven't used it as a Euro nymphing rod at all because I didn't feel like it was appropriate. It's not a nymphing rod. I think you could use it as a push, but it's not really how you're going to get the best out of the rod. Not only is it a fantastic rod at a great price, but actually Wychwood seem to offer a really, really fair unconditional policy on spares. So if you break a section and Wychwood have it in stock, you get in touch with them, you pay 25 quid, they send a new section to you. So 25 quid to get your rod back on the water, I think is very, very good value for money. So there we have it, folks. That is the Wychwood Flow 10-foot 4-weight. As I say, I think this is the best value dry fly rod on the market at the moment. I haven't found anything that even comes close. I'd be interested to know if you guys have. Please drop us a comment in the comment section if you found anything that even gets close to comparing to this. I haven't used any of the other rods in the Flow range, but if they're anywhere near as good as a 10-foot 4-weight, that is a range that represents huge value for money. They're all around about the same price as this. A really interesting range from shorter river rods right the way up to a 10 and 11-foot 4-weight. What a steal this is. If you guys have any experience fishing the other rods in the Flow range in the different sizes, again, do drop us a comment in the comment section. I'd be really interested to hear what the feedback is like on the other rods. If this is a rod that you've looked at in the past and been curious about, and this review has given you some idea of what direction you want to go in one way or the other, again, do let us know. We really like that sort of feedback. I'm going to wrap up here. Absolutely brilliant rod, great value for money, a great option for someone who's curious about the longer rod, a great option for someone who's just getting into it, a great option as a spare rod. Wychwood have absolutely smashed it out of the park. 10-foot 4-weight, Wychwood Flow, the best value river dry fly rod on the market, bar none. Prove me wrong. Guys, thank you very much for watching the video. Really appreciate it. If you'd enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button. If you like the reviews and stuff like that and you want to see more of it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And IB and I will see you again soon for some more fishing chat, probably reviews for the next couple of weeks and other stuff. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.